Hey folks, so apologies for being quite inactive recently. I'm currently in the process of moving. I'm staying at my friend's place in London before I move down to Brighton, but I'm hopefully moving to Brighton mid-July time, so after that I'll be much more active. But I thought, you know, because it's Pride Month now, so I thought I would tell you guys about my whole coming out experience. So I'll just start with, right now I'm very happy with myself, my identity, who I am, my transition, and I wouldn't change any of my experiences because honestly it's cliche, but they have made me who I am, and I'm happy with who I am and what it took to get me here. So I guess I'll start from the very beginning. So the first kind of experience of LGBTQ culture I ever really had, well, it wasn't really an experience, it was more exposure. I guess I was 13 or something, because back when I was 13 I was actually living in Turkey, because I'm half Turkish, and I was there for 6 years from the ages of 12-ish onwards, and basically there's just absolutely no LGBTQ community there as far as I'm aware. It might have changed a little bit now, especially in the more kind of bigger cities, but then again, saying that, Istanbul Pride hasn't really happened recently because there's been loads of issues with it, with them cancelling it and then getting water cannons and stuff. So yeah, it's not good to be LGBTQ in Turkey. It also has one of the highest rates of trans-related murder. So yeah, I didn't have much exposure to it when I was a kid for reasons. So yeah, I started because that's when I had access to the internet. That's when I started getting more access to it. I was about 13, and you know, back then was the MySpace scene, emo phase, and in Western cultures at least, it was quite common to experiment. You would see all the time, especially with the boys. There would be it was very, very popular for the boys to be making out and stuff, and you know, back then I was I was interested in that. That was my kind of thing. So back then I definitely identified still as a girl, although I was always quite tomboyish. That was kind of part of me that has always been a thing. I identified quite strongly as a tomboy. I would kind of wear long t-shirts, baggy trousers, skater shoes. I had quite long hair actually, my natural colour, and I never really wore dresses, or really didn't really wear bikinis and stuff like that. I thought maybe that was more of I didn't like my body in general thing rather than a trans thing, and I guess it was because I didn't realise that you could be trans, that it was a thing, and so I had no exposure to it. Like I say, it was kind of a part of emo scene culture to be very open about their sexuality. Back then I kind of identified as bi, even though I didn't really have much attraction to feminine presenting people, because I guess I was just socialized this whole time to not be attracted to them. I mean, I could appreciate pretty people, but I never thought it was a sexual thing. So yeah, throughout that whole time in Turkey, I wasn't actively seeking kind of LGBT experiences, let's say, and I had, I think the only trans person I knew was this trans woman. I never really spoke to her at all. I was just kind of aware of her existence because people were ignorant to it and had no education on the subject. They didn't really know what to think about it, and being gay was just not an option. Definitely not. There was just, I didn't know anybody who was gay. I didn't know anybody who had who was bi or had experiences. And yeah, so kind of that was me growing up until I was 16, 17, and then I moved back to England. Mate, it took me years and years to come to terms with my identity, and on every level. For up until I was 19, 20, I identified as a cis woman, and I still said I was bi, but I still hadn't had any experiences, and I think that was just because I was very cis-het passing, so I was very shy, I was very social awkward, so I had no chances to kind of like get to know other people. Then I went to college, and when I was at college there was a couple of people actually that I thought were quite attractive, but I didn't tell them, I was just their friend. I think that's when I really kind of started to think like maybe, you know, I'm actually like bisexual and I would want to get in a relationship, you know, with women. Again, I still didn't do anything because I was too heckin' shy, and people didn't know that I wasn't straight, so they didn't think to approach me in that kind of way. But yeah, by that point I had really figured out that I was definitely bi. And then I went to uni, and by the time I went to uni I was quite heavily involved in like the J fashion community, and through the J fashion community, through the alternative fashion community, I found people who were more free with their gender expression, and then I found people who were trans in the community, most distinctly like non-binary people within the community. I think probably actually the first person that I actually know of was my whole Prince. I don't think that they're aware that they were such a big part of my like how I came to find my gender identity, but yeah, if you watch this, you were kind of like a big part of that, so thank you for being that person in my life. And then yeah, through that I became friends with a lot of people. I started my Instagram, I started making friends with even more people, and then on my year abroad in Japan I came out as non-binary, and I still had long hair, I still dressed in pastels, but by that point I felt that that was who I was, and I started to dress more masculine. Even with like long hair, I would kind of like do it in a kind of like a visual K kind of way, like or shadow K maybe, as much as I could with the hair that I had, to kind of masculinize that a little bit, be much more androgynous. And I definitely feel like I pulled that off, considering that at that time I didn't have access to like binding or just general kind of like androgynous clothes despite being in Japan. Yeah, and then when I was there I kind of had like one experience with a woman, but didn't go too far. It was just something that kind of we did, but I didn't get too into it, and I think it was because I was scared, because I think I definitely had like a lot of internalized homophobia, because I thought this whole time I was like kind of like faking it, that how I felt wasn't real, and like that stayed with me for a long time. And I think to this point I'm just like, do I still feel that way? And I know I don't, but you know, you just have that thing in the back of your head where you just think you're not real, you're not genuine, it took you this long to, you know, realise. And I'm just like, you know, some people just don't have the resources, the knowledge, or, you know, they're not around the right people to help them discover themselves, and it's okay to discover it later in life, I guess. Like, I'm glad it's later than, you know, never. And I mean, I'm almost 26 now, so for me, like, I guess for me I would consider this early in my life, because I still have so much more ahead of me to experience as myself. But yeah, what was I talking about? So yeah, in Japan I had some experiences. I came out as non-binary. I asked people to start using they them pronouns. Then when I came back to the UK, I finished my last year in uni, and at that point I decided to cut my hair, and then I did, and I felt amazing. And the thing that helped me come to that decision to cut my hair was two of my close friends at the time kind of like had short hair and had a quite androgynous look, and they really inspired me. And yeah, and then I did that, and I realised I should have done that a long time ago, you know, like that's just who I am. So my battery died, which is annoying. Where was I? I think I was talking about getting my hair cut. So yeah, getting my hair cut was a really big step for me, because it really helped me realise that I should have done this a long time ago, and that having short hair for me is really important. Really changed the way I felt about myself, and actually allowed me to be more experimental with more like masculine looks, like a more masculine silhouette. And then I made my genderqueer video, kind of like that was a whole coming out thing. That's kind of when my, like, one part of my family found out, it was when my mum found out, and yeah, it wasn't the best experience because I didn't tell her in person, and maybe I should, but because yeah, at that point I was talking about going on T and having top surgery and stuff, and didn't tell her first. I'm sorry mum, I should have told you first. She wasn't very happy about it, but we've kind of got past that now, and she's happy and supportive of me, and she can see that I'm happy, so I think that's kind of like the important thing, isn't it, with your parents, that you're happy. Then I got my referral for the GIC and I was put on the waiting list. So yeah, the next big thing I think after that was like my first queer relationship that I got into, and that was a really important step for me, and it really helped me realise it is a part of me, it's who I am, and that it makes me happier. I don't really like to talk about that relationship much because it's kind of like the first relationship where I was ever really in love, and it still kind of hurts a little bit, so I don't really want to talk about that much. But yeah, so that happened, and then my dad found out about that, and long story short, he disowned me. I think he's kind of come to the terms that, like, you know, in his eyes I'm gay, but he doesn't know I'm trans. And honestly, if he disowned me for being gay, there's no point even telling him I'm trans, so I haven't. And pretty much if he ever finds out, that will be if he stalks my social media and finds out himself. But either way, like, I'm actually okay with that. I would rather be myself, true to myself and happy, than be closeted and have a relationship with my dad, you know what I mean? Because for me, like, this is my life and it's an important part of my life and it's who I am. And if he doesn't want to be a part of that, then I don't want him to be a part of that. And I've changed my name and my surname, and I don't have his surname anymore, so it is what it is. I guess that was kind of like the last part of like my Turkish heritage, I guess, was having that surname, and letting it go doesn't really hurt at all. Yeah, it is what it is really. But yeah, genuinely, like, I'm not upset about it. Like, sometimes I think about it, I'm just like, it kind of sucks that happened, but there are plenty of people out there who are fine without a dad. Having a dad is not essential to a happy life. Your happiness is more important than their opinions, so do what you want, do what you need to do, because it's your life and not theirs, and you don't owe them anything. And then yeah, I think after that, like, stuff like the next year after my dad's business happened, that's when I got my first like proper binder, and man, it caused me so much pain. But you know what, like, to this day a binder will always cause me pain. Like the one I'm wearing right now, I could feel a bit of pain just like my back, but until I get top surgery there's nothing I can do about it because I need to wear it every day. Yeah, so I guess at this point I got my private prescription for T, and that was like 9-10 months ago now, and I'm so happy that I did that, even though it's costing me a lot of money. It's worth it, and I'm excited. I'm really happy with all the changes. Like, the last few days alone, I can really, I swear I say that in every video, but for real, like, the last few days I can really hear how my voice has kind of like dropped a bit, and then like got a lot more facial hair coming through. Like, you can never really see it on camera because it's not that dark, but it's there. Like, when I look at it close up, I'm just like, it's like it goes all the way up there now and all the way under, and it's mostly here I think that I have it. But yeah, anyway, that I'm saving all that stuff for my 10 months on T video, which will be soon, because I'll be 10 months on T on the 23rd of June, I think. So yeah, I'll do a video about that closer to the time. So yeah, after that I got my first GIC appointment. I think that was the next biggest thing in terms of my transition. That was a bit disappointing because my next appointment will be in January, and I can't get my top surgery referral until then, so I still have another, what is it, another 6 months until I could potentially get my top surgery referral. But at that appointment I should be able to get my prescription to go onto T on the NHS, so I won't have to pay for it anymore. fingers crossed. But yeah, I guess that was kind of like my whole experience as a queer person. It's been a bit mental. Took me a long time to get here, but now I'm happy I did it, and I'm happy with myself. And honestly, if I hadn't have done all those things, I don't know where I would be right now. I would be a very depressed, probably very jealous, insecure person who had no value, self-worth, and yeah, it's deep. I know it's deep, but it's true, and I'm just glad that I'm here doing what I need to do with my life. And yeah, I think I've rambled on a lot. Very sorry. It's a long video again. I'm very sorry. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions about any of the stuff, about my past or whatever, I'm happy to answer them within reason. So yeah, please throw some comments down below and I will try and answer them as soon as I can. So yeah, thanks for watching. All my social media links are down below. Yeah, I'm in the process of moving at the moment, so if I don't post anything in the next couple of weeks, that's why, because I'm currently looking for a house in Brighton, and yeah, I promise I will get back into it after I move. And yeah, so I'll see you next time. Bye.